So, Luke, have you seen the Terrifier films?
I have indeed. I'm a big fan. I just think they're so much fun.
Both of them.
Both of
One
them.
and two. I have seen the first one and not the second.
I forgot you haven't. Oh, okay.
So in today's video, in anticipation for Terrifier 3, which at the time of the video coming out, will be out today, we are going to be watching both of them and talking about it on here. So the next time you see us, we'll have watched the first one. We'll go through our first opinions.
Beautiful.
And then after that, I'll be watching the sequel for the very first time, which I'm fascinated. And what I will say is, I know nothing about the second one.
Like at all?
No. So we'll go ahead and talk about the first one. For you, we'll see in a few seconds.
Absolutely.
But for us, we'll see in about an hour 30, hour 25.
Yes.
Ish.
Yeah. 90.
What a breeze. What an easy watch.
It's just a lovely appetizer. Can't wait.
The thought of referring to Terrifier 1 is like just the appetizer.
Amuse-bouche.
Leaning into the sequel. See you then. So Terrifier, first one. You know what? Not as depraved as I remembered it, but I'm not sure if it's just when the slight levity of having another person to watch it with.
I think having someone to talk about it with.
I mean, it follows kind of simple slasher logic. It's not really a film that like
the plot isn't where the focus is
per
se.
It's two young women after a Halloween party, and one of them is a bit more promiscuous than the other, and then they get followed by a creepy guy. So in terms of like art, again, when we think of slashers these days, it's stoic man walking slowly. Usually you don't see his face.
Yeah,
he's pretty much just a brick wall, really.
Yeah, just sort of a force.
Yeah.
Obviously the opposing force to the protagonist.
Yeah. But where it's like, I know, I like he is just a bit of a character, isn't he?
It just gives so much more colour to it.
What I personally admire about this film is the level of cheapness of it.
Yeah, I think.
And I'd be curious if anyone else who isn't involved in actually filmmaking in any realm, whether it be on the crew or cast side, can appreciate it on that level. Because I think for us, I think you could agree with me when I say this. It's like it's kind of nice to see a film that isn't super big,
I think
glossy.
It just speaks to sort of creativity in general. And we were talking, was it like a 50,000?
35,000.
Like, to achieve the things that they achieve on that kind of budget is pretty remarkable.
And it's like, because, to me, it's like you can see the camera quality. I said to you, it's like, what is the color grade is fat. Like, it's almost like they just like loaded up the footage and they went, increase the contrast, adjust the saturation. We did it.
Yeah.
and that's the color grade. Yeah. And even to me, it's like you could, and again, I like, again, it's digitally shot, and I like how you can see the digital noise in it. Yeah, it's like you can clearly see the image isn't almost. It's like if you low light a clip, but then you need to bring the color up or something.
It's but like artificially brightening.
But like since you shot it digitally and you shot it low light, there's nothing to bring up because you've already captured that, so you can see the noise.
Yeah.
Which I know I like how you can see that element of it, and it's not framed wonderfully as well.
No,
it's not like cinematography on that shot.
There were some nice.
There are. It's not an It's not just they put the camera down. It's not incompetently made at all. But it is.
You can see like the work that's gone into it almost.
Oh, yeah. Some of the best things that come from like the 80s nostalgia boom of the 2010s is bringing the stylish lighting and the actual kind of soundtrack
to
it.
The synth in this was just brilliant.
I'm a fan.
I really need to find the track that Art was playing when he crashes through the doors.
Weird to say. Terrifier is fun, guys.
All right,
but I do again. I think the length helps.
Yeah,
I think
you're
in and out. They don't try to complicate it.
No,
Which
everything's answered.
Yes,
pretty much.
Yeah.
But then I mean, I defy you to watch that and say that people aren't having fun.
There's reactions happening.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
You're gonna feel something.
In order to make a quality slasher, I don't need to see a revolutionary story.
No.
If I'm being honest, just follow the formula and just really put the effort into the set pieces and kills. And if I'm being honest, that's where this film lies in terms of it's like, dude, you gotta watch Terrifier for this.
Yeah, it prides itself so clearly on such clear things that I think it's hard to imagine them changing that anyway. Like, obviously the practical effects and the set pieces, those are like, I would say, the keystones of the film.
Yeah.
And then like the character of Art.
Yeah, yes.
Obviously.
Yeah. Like, I remember two main things from this film. It was Dawn's kill, and it was Art wearing Cat Lady's skin.
See, I'd forgotten about that second one.
Do you know what? I remembered the imagery of seeing him walking.
I completely blanked it.
That was burning in my head.
And
So I was like, okay, I know.
Watching it again, I can't think for how that was possible.
How that left your
because for me it was eating the face, and
I forgot about the eating the face. I did. That was the one I forgot. So I guess only two things can stick in your mind with this. It just depends which one you want to. But like the Dawn kill, I think is just. How have I never seen that before in a horror?
Yeah.
Like to that level of like you actually see. Like, again, I will say I haven't seen the Hostel films. I haven't seen others that might fit in the 2000s torture porn genre. But, like, do you know what?
I would be saying, like, looking at, like, French Extremity and...
I get Martyrs, I guess. You could look at, like, a French Extremity gore fest or anything, or a torture porn of the 2000s, that boom of it all. And you could think about all these big, like, gory set pieces, but none of those felt fun. But like with this one, it's like it is the fact of like we're doing the big gory set pieces, but we're also doing it fun. So you can almost feel a bit of like.
I think that maybe comes from a feeling of restraint almost within it.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about before, that the body isn't cleanly cut into and then like pulverized to nothing. Like there's like a point where it feels like the filmmakers are going, and that's where we'll end it.
We're done now.
It's not a constant yes and with everything, which I think can be appreciated.
There are breaks in the kills. To be fair. Yeah, no, that is a good point in the sense like this. There's not a point where we're just constantly like, and now we're gonna kill you, and now this one dies. And I do feel like that's also a strong fact of like you need to think about like budgetary in terms of how many casts can you actually hire. Like how many people can you actually afford to be in the film and whatnot? That's very
true.
But I feel like that works out better for the film. That Art isn't just bulldozing through bodies and bodies and bodies and bodies.
Yeah, because I think
it's like Dawn gets chopped in half, and then Tara runs away. So then we spend time with that as a section or whatever.
You're then still brought back to Dawn. It's like they're getting their money's worth out of the.
I mean, it's a good effect, man. The other janitor, who we branded a cross between Adam Wingard and Kyle Gallner. Yeah. And it's like his death. It's like,
so much
again,
fun.
that could have just been knife in the head, blood. Any director could have, and that's that character's death. And then he gets like a knife to his throat. And then cuts his throat, and then
that could have been it.
And then any other director could have been like, and now he drops.
Yeah.
But then we see his head. Then we see him decapitated,
doing some incredible face acting
on his side.
Beautiful.
Absolutely great.
So fun.
And then we get a whole prosthetic head. It's making your cake and eating it.
Yeah,
It's like, you want to see this? Yeah, we do. Well, we're going to do more. Oh, shit, I didn't want more, but you gave me more, and now I wanted that. You know,
now there's a chain made of scissors.
That's neat.
That's
cool.
Like, I think somehow that felt like the most visceral sort of
when he's
parts
whipping
to it. Yeah.
Cheap slasher horrors can have the effect of like, they can sometimes have the effect of like, oh, fucking idiots just die. I just want to see these idiots just die.
Wanting people to get killed.
Whereas, I mean, even Dawn, who I liked Dawn.
Yeah, like again, I think each character has a color to them.
Yeah.
The same with Art.
Yeah.
Perhaps in a different light, but there's still that like life to them.
We haven't had a horror icon, an original horror icon in so long. Like,
Like
if you think, I don't know, like, I mean, Annabelle became iconic.
I'd say Annabelle. Moving towards like more recently, it would be like Maxine and
I guess
Pearl
is quite Pearl's iconic within that. Art is a horror icon now.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I mean, I think that's good for the genre. I like how he's got his like weird like little fucking bin bag of like of weapons that he's just like has with him.
Doesn't have a need for like one stylistic weapon.
He pulled a gun out.
Yeah, just
which I forgot.
The most
shocked me.
Shithead response you can have to being beaten.
That's what
we were also saying that the bumps he takes.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah,
the bumps he takes.
There's something weirdly cathartic about one time seeing Art do this really gruesome kill, but then it's also really fun to see him get his fucking shit to him.
Yeah,
like actually
his
get
eye stabbed out, beaten with a 2x4.
Yeah, just bang. Flats out, and it's just like, you know what? Cool.
Yeah, again, it's just adding something that we haven't seen for
It's not
a while.
reinventing the wheel, it's just adding little extra touches to it.
It's
like, why not make a little vaudeville character of a slasher film?
Yeah,
like,
why don't you rip him out of a silent film?
What's your favourite kill in this one?
I'd probably say on this rewatch, the stomping of the head.
Okay.
Because I think I vibe much more with the Exterminator's character this time round.
Yeah.
Somehow. But then at the same time, the kill we said before with Adam Wingard looking
Yes, yeah.
I just think the performance and then the transition to the prosthetic, the janky like rip back.
Yeah, there's so much of it,
to pull it all out.
The blood spurn. On rewatch, the decapitation's my favourite for all the reasons you said. But I still think like the iconic one is the Dawn kill.
Yeah, you can't really argue with that. That's like the showstopper.
It's the first big arc. It's not the first arc kill because he kills the pizza men as well beforehand.
Yeah,
but that's the first like. This is what you're here for, isn't it?
This is about.
That will forever be the Terrifier kill in the first film.
Oh, yeah, undeniably.
But also, I think the decapitation kill isn't. I don't know. I don't feel as gross with that.
No, I think that was the kill that I just enjoyed.
I don't feel as like.
Yeah.
I think I would show that kill to people who haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Just to be like, look at this, so they can at least have some sort of like, oh, that's mental. I'm fascinated with what the sequel's going to be. As I said, I have no idea who's in it. I know Art's in it. I don't know characters. I assume, again, don't necessarily confirm nor deny. I assume from my head, from my knowledge of just slasher in general, a lot of slasher films don't necessarily continue characters except for the killer.
Yeah.
I assume that's probably going to be the same kind of thing in the sense like it's new people, just Art, and Art's fucking around with them.
Okay.
I think it's set in Halloween again, from my understanding. And I assume it's bigger because it's longer. I assume there's more to the film considering it's an hour. We've got an hour more Art.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, in a few minutes, seconds, you'll see what I do think of it. So let's go and watch Terrifier 2 then.
Can't wait.
Right, okay, Terrifier. Terrifier 2. Literally, credits have just ended as we...
yeah, they just finished rolling.
I just want to make it very clear that I fucked a lot with that. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
I think... Do you know what's weird? I don't think any of my expectations were exceeded. Like
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, purely because I was like, well, what can it really
There's
be?
only... yeah.
The budget. Like,
Yeah.
it just looks...
From shot one, it feels...
But even then, it's even weird because like, how much was it? Did you say it was only like it was like in the hundreds of thousands?
Yeah, I think it was
dollars.
200,000,
Which is still for a feature film.
Very
That's
low.
still cheap. That's still a low budget film, and I think they used it even more than what the first one did. Like this looked like I would have said, I don't know, maybe low millions.
Yeah, no, I think that's very plausible.
David Howard Thornton. Again, he's just as good.
Yeah,
I think.
I'd say there's such a smooth through line.
Again, he's being a silly boy once again, and also just really grim. It's just little things. I will say again, it's one thing we mentioned. It was like, oh yeah, he hasn't really bumped as much. He hasn't
he wasn't taking them as early on.
He was more traditionally a slasher, I guess, in this, where he is just this harbinger of just murder. The art charm, although I think charm's a very interesting word when describing this film.
But I do think it's appropriate. I think it certainly does have a charm to it.
The score by Paul Wiley. Again, right off the bat, like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah,
oh,
we just both remarked it. It's like, this is good.
It's a good score. And again, it keeps up with it. There's even elements of, like, John Carpenter.
I was thinking that.
Like,
definitely throughout. I mean, both, like, visuals and sound-wise.
I mean,
I think the sort of Halloween parallels...
Oh, definitely,
pretty strong.
I mean, apart from the fact of, like, obviously it's set during Halloween, so there's that obvious aspect of it. But also,
I mean, there was the ghost sheet.
Yes,
that little bit.
It's fascinating to watch art fucking dismember, and we'll get through the kills. Because I almost need to like log them in my head in terms of like, hang on, let me think about what I just watched.
Yeah.
But like you see, there's also something seeing like Art the serial killer just actually just decimating these people. But then there's also like you get towards the end when you see Sienna and Jonathan actually fucking give it to him.
I'd maybe place Sienna as easily a top 10 like final girl.
I was thinking about
especially
that.
of the 2020s.
I mean, we talk about the first ones. Like, there's like fun.
Yeah,
they're fun performances. They're good performances.
They are
they're
great.
Fun. But I think like, and this is another reason why I just want to get the actual actor's name, Lauren Lavera. A genuinely really good performance.
Yeah,
like not just like it's like good for like a horror flick. It's like it does the job. It's like like she's actually compelling.
Yeah, and I think it just sort of underpins it the whole way through until we get to that point. At the very end where we get that catharsis of watching them.
I think because even there's bits like we see her at the beginning instantly, okay, she's a craftsman person, she likes making her own things, that's cool. We see her with the mum, her brother Jonathan, defined type of character. We see her with her friends, again, defined type of character. We see her when she has panic. Like I think she does like she does go through the whole like the whole spectrum of like emotion in this. Again, she can go from we can have a comedic scene with her and her friend. Was it Brooke? Brooke was the character during the Halloween during the party.
Yeah, like that whole sequence was just added like levity in a different way.
There's that like when she's on Molly. And she get a bit like, she goes from being like that. She goes from having her like more just calmer moments.
And then there's also the genuinely tender moment, that phone call that she has.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah. There's a lot. There is a lot in this where it's like there's actually genuine emotion. Again, even towards the end of like when she's in the fucking Houdini like water tanker thing. I'm like, fucking hell, like she like I'm watching her and it's like she's giving it her all. Yeah. Doing great. Then she becomes an action hero at the end. All feels right.
With like the blood and the grime felt very reminiscent of Dutch in Predator. Was the thought that I had.
Let's break down the kills that's happened because I just need to like I need to remember what happened. Yes. The first again, part of me was waiting like, okay, what's going to be the dawn kill? Mm-hmm. What's going to be? Yeah. And I don't probably the alley kill is with fucking getting scalped, slashed in the eye, arm torn off,
that was
arm ripped in half, still alive.
And then bleach and salt poured
So,
on.
so that's when she's dead. No, she's still alive.
Still alive enough to say mum.
God, it was just, it's
Yeah.
grim, awful, horrendous. And then, of course, we get the Brooke kill, which I think was just, again, you would
just so like
just nasty.
Yeah.
Just again, I thought by this point we're in the third act of the film, we're in the home stretch.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
thinking to myself like, okay, I'm probably desensitized now. To
Yeah.
it. And even then, it's still.
it's just yeah.
It's the chest. It's the back.
It is and then the prosthetic. You see it like wobbling.
Yes.
And obviously, when he tears it open to reach inside.
I think at that moment I did have to semi step out of myself to be like, what am I looking at?
I was like, okay, okay.
Like, where have we come to? Where is this? Where this film take us to this point where I'm looking at this dingy ass bathroom, where it's like shit everywhere, and then blood on the floor, and it's like, all right, okay, bloodied face. Oh, gee, it's just
Not only that, but she also has acid thrown in her
she
face.
does have acid thrown in her
which is
face.
taken from the very start of the film
Yes, it is.
when
is
he's
it?
filling up his bin bag.
That's what we call a callback. In any other slasher film, if a 12-year-old wouldn't even get touched.
No.
They
They'd be hidden away.
Run away.
somewhere.
might get a slash on the arm.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Grab, like, held on to.
Yeah.
But
No,
he's,
he hasn't by the
he
throat.
is held on to.
Face slashed.
Yeah, that sort of segment, once again with that bloody whip.
I was going to say, we bring that back.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was done beautifully.
Yeah.
That moment is when I was like, oh, it's clicking to me that this isn't just a good slasher film. This is just a really good film.
Great film.
But it's because it's combined. And I don't mean, how sometimes people go but it's not just a good horror film. It's a good film. And here's an example of it. And they show examples where it's just really good acting.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's people usually
that's
use
something to be talked
which is
about.
great, is great in the sense of when again Hereditary gets used. I was like, look at the dinner table scene,
and it's
amazing and phenomenal. But I think you can look at that again because we're not just watching a good performance. I think we're watching a really well done horror scene play out where we're seeing the scissor whip.
The sound design.
It's used in slow motion a bit.
Yeah,
it's a great
those shots.
It's a great character moment in the sense of having her protect her brother.
Yeah,
that we're using the feathers beautifully in the sense of from
giving
her
more
wings.
dynamic.
Where it's and then Laura Lavera's just performance in that moment again. It's just again.
I'd also say at the same time, David's performance as
art.
That's when he drops that. That's when the charm leaves the building.
He gets pissed off.
Yeah, and it genuinely felt somehow to be the most uncomfortable scene.
Yeah.
Because that sort of not necessarily campiness, but that charm that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Wasn't there.
What is art? And I don't need to know in the sense of his origin. I'm glad about that, actually. I'm glad there's no explanation of art.
Yes.
About what he is. But in the sense of the fuck's this little girl? At first I was like, okay, Art's seeing the little girl, fine. But then Jonathan sees the little girl.
It was implied that it was all in his head, and then she becomes...
She exists.
She
talks. She uses Jonathan's voice over the phone. I was like, what the fuck? What is this reality?
Oh, but the shots of her in the van with those eyes.
Haunted.
Brilliantly well done.
Again, I don't quite understand the fucking lore of Terrifier, if I'm being perfectly honest with this.
I mean...
But also, do you know what's... But the fact of, I don't understand it. Terrifier 2 isn't... It's not hinged on understanding it.
No.
There's no, book of art. I don't need to see. What was Art doing?
Yeah, this is who Art was.
Is he alive?
Before he came a clown.
Is he of our... is he of our reality?
Yeah.
Is he not? I don't care.
It doesn't necessarily matter.
It's because again, in my opinion, it's what I think horror does a great job at doing. You can just throw out logic in favor of emotion.
Oh, for sure.
And what I mean by that is like, because you rip the fucking scary clown who's murdering people in the most gruesome ways.
Yeah.
What's the story we're getting? We're getting a story of a high school girl trying to deal through her dad's death.
Yeah.
That is what the film is.
Yeah, that it's her, like, sort of her and the rest of her family.
And because we
dealing with
like
this huge impact.
But we just use it. But we also have that story with, and then we just use a murderous clown as a vehicle to like, give them more like actual physical on screen like.
Yeah,
shit.
it just gives it puts a face to this sort of challenge.
Again, the formula of a slasher film is still there. They haven't changed anything whatsoever.
No, of course not.
But I think what Damien Leone does differently, it's like, well, how about we just flesh out the characters more?
Yeah.
How about we give them more time to be people?
Yeah, it was just like giving more depth to everything that made the first one work so well.
Yeah.
It's just amping it up.
I think, and I think it's like, I mean, that is another thing. It's like, I mean, hey, if you just write really good characters within this slasher film, you're going to be a lot more invested when the big bad fucking killer is going to be attacking this character that you've grown
it just
to
gives
like.
So much more weight to everything.
Another thing that horror as a genre could do, not like many others can't, is the fact of just the gorgeous practical effects in this. And again, it's gruesome, it's grim, but when you're looking at like a chest getting caved in, you know that someone made that fucking torso.
Like,
you know, work got put into that. You know when Ali is getting her skin ripped off. Yeah, it's like,
I know that
that's hours of makeup.
Yeah,
and it's all makeup that looks good.
It looks so good. I know that whole segment of Ali's death was something that they retooled in lockdown.
Right, okay.
I think it was originally planned to be much shorter and much less. Is to my knowledge the case, but then obviously the world shut down, and I think it was Leone then went back, retooled it, and gave us that. Which,
I mean, it's
how they were able to pull some of that stuff off is incredible.
The film's an hour longer than most normal slashers.
Yeah.
But it has a pace.
Yeah, you're not sat there like waiting for the next thing to happen.
If anything, you want to breathe around. I think that's also that's a benefit as well, because sometimes like of how grim art can be, it's like, okay, can I just have Sienna just kind of like chilling now?
Just like, yeah.
And then by the time Art's doing his fucking thing again, you kind of like back up.
Yeah, you're like, okay, well, let's see what happens here.
Yeah.
And then, because I mean, it's either way, it's sort of too much of one thing. So I think if we had to strike that balance,
if we had too much of Sienna doing shit, you would be like, fucking, where's
Art?
Where's
Art? Yeah, that's exactly.
And then if we had just too much of Art doing stuff, it's like,
it sort of loses its shine, and it's
you either get bored of it or you just get like grossed out.
Yeah, you just
by
get
it.
turned off.
What would you go away from this being like? That was the best kill.
I think the one that does stick in my head the most is Brooks, and like Ali's, I would liken to the Saw kill in the first.
The
one.
Dawn kill.
Yeah, the Dawn.
Yeah, like in the sense of just the amount of stuff that's going on in that.
Yeah, and then also in the runtime, roughly where they sort of.
That's the first.
Feels that they sort of line up together.
Yeah.
And obviously they're both cracking kills.
Yeah.
But I think we obviously spent a lot more time with Brooke.
Yeah.
And she was very likable.
I did like Brooke. I did like Brooke a lot, if I'm being honest, yeah. I think the Brooke kill is probably my... Again, for just the set piece of how it is, but also for like what it means in the story. It just felt more like... Apart from just being a cool-ass kill, it also just felt like quite like raw of like a... It felt a very pivotal point in narratively speaking.
And then also, as we've said before, we get to see Sienna's reaction to finding the body.
Again, great.
Which is some proper acting chops there.
Because this is also a thing that I usually have issues with horror films, and I can forgive them because like usually it is whatever. It's like you usually see people's reactions to loved ones corpses, and in my head I'm like, and like I'm thinking to myself, like, if I saw my mate dead on the floor, my world would be broken there.
like,
I would be a state. But you just see them kind of
like fear and run away.
You see them kind of go. And then leave. Like I'm on my knees at that moment.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I think it just adds that extra level to it.
Yeah,
I will give an honourable shout out to the mum's death though, because
the sawn off shotgun, brilliant. Do you think Terrifier goes too far?
I would say no, because to me it feels like a celebration of lower budget filmmaking, a love for slashers, a love for horror in general, and the genuinely immense amount of fun that can come from those.
I mean, I agree with this. I don't think it goes too far. It gets
close, but
because I think too far is, to me, too far would be something along the, again, I know we're talking as two people who have watched New French Extremity.
Yeah.
I'm talking about I'm someone who's watched Martyrs, and I've watched Irreversible. To me, I do like Irreversible, but also I remember watching that film for the first time and thinking to myself, fuck, okay, I think that went.
Yeah.
I can understand why Irreversible did it, but also I think, fuck, I think that went. I think that went a bit too much there for my palate.
Yeah.
Personally, from my personal preference, I don't think simply murderous violence can go too far in fiction. I think it has to. It's more.
I can see that.
I think it's more like torturous violence.
Yeah, like
can
gratuitous.
And I think sexual violence definitely can go too far.
Yes.
But there's nothing in Terrifier. There's no torture element. It's just prolonged murder.
Yeah, like
it's just, which I guess you could say is torture.
Yeah,
but I mean, in the sense
it's
of
hard
like
to say, like what the appeal of this gore is, because saying like gratuitous violence, I would describe it as gratuitous.
It's gratuitous
because it's gonna be.
But I think it's more. What's weird, the way the film's presented more so to me, is Art is doing multiple one-shot kills. Yeah. It just so happens to be that the person isn't dying yet. Is my perception of
it's their
how
fault.
It feels. It's your fucking fault, Ali, for that you didn't die quickly.
Yeah.
But like, it's more of a thing of like, he's cut the scalp off this girl.
Yeah.
She's still moving. I guess I'll keep going. Is how it feels more like. He feels more like a fucking twisted person who's trying to play with his fucking shit.
Yeah,
until they stop.
Yeah,
really.
It's.
I mean, then again, even then he still shoves like fucking mashed potatoes in, like, which out of everything in the film, that weirdly knocked me the most sick.
Made me the most queasy. Like, there's something wrong about just putting mashed potato in where someone's face should be.
There's enough playfulness in.
I think that's
in the presentation of this film.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what reins it back.
Yeah,
is the charm, which is like when we were talking about before. When that charm goes, is when we start to feel a bit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, I don't think this film goes any further than something like a Django Unchained or a Kill Bill.
No,
there's just more of it. Apart from just having great kills, apart from having a fucking just iconic slasher, apart from just having a fun Halloween setting, you've also got a banging like final girl. You got an absolutely incredible final girl in this. That is, again, I would agree with you. I would probably say I can't think of any it's top 10 quality.
Easily top 10. I think.
I can't rank them, but I think, but I can't even think of others. Again, my favorite final girl is Sidney Prescott from Scream. I just can't but again, she has like 5 films worth of being pretty great throughout.
I think for a singular film, I would say at least of the, I don't know, man.
Of the last 10 years, probably.
I'd say
within the, like, if
of the last decade, easily top 5.
Yeah, I mean, I could agree. I can agree. But yeah. Oh no. Well, on that note. Oh no. So that's our thoughts on the Terrifier films. That's my first time watching Terrifier 2.
Your immediate thoughts.
I'm very excited for Terrifier 3, if I'm being honest.
Wait.
You can follow us on the Instagram at Intermission Kills. The link tree. I'll just put the link tree as well in the description below. And I know what the next video is. Let me just double check when it is. I believe it is. It's not then. It is. So it'll be it'll be next Friday, Friday 18th. So a week today when you're watching this. We're going to be talking about the original Psycho from 1960. Again, as I said, we've got a fun October for you.
Yep. Get your tickets for Terrifier 3.
I mean, I probably will. I mean,
yeah, I'm going to go look later today.
I was going to say, yeah, we should.
But yes, that's some cracking films.
So that's Terrifier 1 and 2. We'll see you. Well, we'll see you for the future of this October.
Absolutely.
Bye bye.